Hello, welcome. I am Ryan Mear. Today I'm interviewing the Reverend Jonnie HODSON of the band Silveroller. And this is Silveroller. The song's called Hold. You done good. 379 subscribers. Welcome, Jonnie. How are you doing today? And that would have been a great intro to an interview that went very well to start with. So well, in fact, I forgot to hit record till about 20 minutes in. So we're going to jump in the middle of the conversation here. But it was a great conversation, which there's still almost an hour there. So please enjoy the rest of the interview, despite my failings initially.
We'd pick the one we thought was good, like as in kind of the take. You know, they'd run through it two, three times. And it'd be a kind of that middle one was good, because I think you can also get to a point where you've played it so many times that you've lost its feel.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And that was kind of the process we went for. And then then it was kind of a case of let's put like a kind of another rhythm track on that behind what he's doing to kind of pad it out, or let's do this, that, and the other. You'd spend a couple of hours on guitars, and then come the end of the day, it'd be like, right, let's do a couple of vocal takes. But I would never really do more than 3 or 4, because it does get to a point where it's like I'm just singing this almost like painting by numbers.
Yeah.
And then it's boring now, and I'd rather it be slightly out of key and exciting than perfectly in tune and boring.
That's great. I love that, man. And it's weird. There's a lot of bands I discovered that some are like that, and some are very much, with the metronome, with the click track. You can take their live songs and line them up with their studio songs. It lines up perfectly, that's a feat in itself. But then I also appreciate when you can just jam, and if something happens, you can kind of follow that, find an awesome bassist and an awesome drummer, and just jam
and have at it. Yeah, and have at it. Yeah. But sure, man, I think we used click track once on the records, just because there was one song that was like, no, this neat, because it, on Hold, actually, was the only one that we used the click track with.
Oh, yeah.
The single you've heard. But that's because it's so kind of driving in the way it's played. And we don't do that live, but it was just, we knew that one was going to be the lead single, because the people around at the time said, no, that's the one, that's the lead single.
Yeah.
Okay, so we wanted that one for the rate, but the rest of it's all free time. Like I'm not a huge fan of click track. If it speeds up and slows down, then good. You know what I mean? It's clearly meant to. So
there's that ebb and flow, man. It makes it some organics.
Yeah. Like, have you seen the guy on YouTube who drags like Zeppelin and the Stones onto like a click track map? I think he does like Brown Sugar. It's awful. It's really bad.
Yeah. I think I've seen a couple guys. There's one guy, was it Wings of Pegasus, where he does a lot of vocal stuff.
Yeah.
I might probably a different guy, but it is neat to see that, because it's like, well, realistically, it doesn't sound that good, but it's so fun to listen to, man. You get that breathing in the music.
Yeah. But I think that's also like, that is a modern thing of there's this kind of temptation now to go, the space there, quick, let's fill it. And it's like, no, leave the space. Just let it breathe. Do you know what I mean? Like like Mr. Big by Free, there's just yards of space in that song.
Yeah.
And When the Levee Breaks by Zeppelin's the same. It's like, and there's just, it feels like you can go and climb into the song and just kind of look around in there, And it's so good. But
it gives you an environment to sit in and just experience.
Yeah. And it's actually one of the things I like about Greta's EP. I'm not a huge fan of them, by the way. I'm just, as a reference point, as a modern band who are doing it. Black Smoke Rising has that. It has that space. And I think the first time I heard that, I was like, ooh, these guys have got the sauce. They know how to leave space. Whereas so many modern musicians are just like, space, fill it. And it's like, just leave it. Just, it's good as it is.
Yeah, just because it can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. Exactly, man. Buddy Guy, man. You mentioned Buddy Guy. Now I'm thinking of Buddy Guy Junior Wells Play the Blues. Have you heard that album?
I can't say. I don't think I have. I don't think I have.
When we're done here, man, go and check it out, man. It is. It's my favorite Buddy Guy moments when he's working with Junior Wells.
Junior Wells. Yeah, man.
They do a version of "Come On in This House," and they kind of, you're talking about that kind of like playing with time and space.
Yeah,
they do that so well in that song. There's no need for you standing there crying. I know what I'm doing after we've done here, man. I'm gonna go listen to that.
Well, yeah, your vocals, they sound like if I was in the same room and you sang, it would sound like it does in the studio. Some people now, like I just don't think that happened. Like there's a lot of overproduction and stuff on vocals. I actually listen to a lot of vocals that are a lot of screaming, a lot of guttural stuff, and some metal that just aren't going to sound anything like that if you heard the person standing next to you. And listening to you, I'm like, it'd probably sound exactly like that. Which is it's nice to hear, man.
That means a lot, man. You know what? There was one, I can't remember what it was. There was a pre-chorus that in pre-production the week before we went in the studio, the drummer had said to me, he's really good at this. He went, I've heard you say that before, man. You need to kind of, that lyric's it's not your best. And I was like, okay. So I rewrote it, changed the melody slightly. And then because of kind of muscle memory, I just couldn't quite get it. And it was the thing in the studio that it was like, I think it was like 6 or 7 of them that I was just doing them one after the other.
Yeah.
And the producer went, don't worry, that one's good. I'll just nick that. And I was like, whoa there, brother. I will get this right if I have to stay here till midnight. I am not having auto-tune on this record.
Yeah.
And it's, I no disrespect to anyone who does, that's fine, I get it. But just for me, I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror. Do you know what I mean? For me, I have to be able to go, there's no auto-tune on that. That's just me.
Yeah, you're going to have to do it eventually, right? Like if you play the song live, you got to be able to do it. I've done that with site. I record stuff on my own, and it can get mad when you're self-recording something. But I'll improvise solos, and then it's like, well, that's bad. I don't want to do it again. But it's like, well, if you can't do it again, then what are you doing? You got to be able to do it again. You know, if you're afraid to play it, then maybe you should do a different approach.
Yeah. I think as well, that's with all of the modern technology, like, you know, you click a button and there's an orchestra. I think we're very conscious of the idea that there's going to be 5 guys on stage. And we have to be able to recreate this, and it doesn't have to be the same. I hate the idea of it being the same every night. That bores the life out of me. Like there has to be space for movements, and there has to be space to kind of, because in the studio, it's how you want it to sound in your head. Live, I'm just trying to impress the guys on stage. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to do something that one of them kind of looks up to me and goes, "Oh, that was good." That, you know,
cool.
And so it's that theory as well, innit? Of let's not just throw the kitchen sink production wise at this. Let's not just throw everything at it. Let's use what we've got sensibly, so we don't get to playing it live and go, you know, like Queen did with the operatic section of Bohemian Rhapsody. They can never play it live, and it's
how we're supposed to pull that off. Yeah,
and it's musical artwork, and I get the idea, but I'd never want to be in that position where I'd have to go, right, play the tape, we'll walk off, and then we'll come back. You know, that's not
where you're relying on a few backing tracks, not to play your song, but you need them essentially to pull out what you recorded.
Yeah.
And and there's always there's my favorite bands that use backing tracks for another, like if there's a key, like a key part in the song that's like the 5th guitar in the track, like you can't cover it live, but it'll be in there. And I appreciate that, but I appreciate like the natural feel of some of, you know, guys just jamming on stage.
I get it as well. Like I've seen Aerosmith live, and there's a whole bunch of all kinds going on there.
Yeah,
still one of the greatest rock and roll bands I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like flat out, you know, like it's there's Aerosmith. It's the 5 guys that were on the first album, you know, and there it is. You know, it's just like, wow, look at that, you know. And Steve Tyler, man, like what a front man. My God.
Yeah, I never had a chance to see them, but it was one. Yeah, man, they're, well, you know, MTV because they had like a resurgence there with MTV and working with the movie soundtracks they did, and then with like Run DMC and all that stuff when it popped back out. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I found their older stuff. I'm like, dude, this is incredible.
Yeah. Like I think they're one of the only bands who went from the 70s to the 80s. Well, they kind of spanned those 2 decades, because most of those 70s bands
Yeah.
Got to
Like,
the 80s and kind of went, we don't know what this is.
yeah, you got them and like ZZ Top.
Yeah.
They did it brilliantly, you know.
Yes.
Talk about a couple old blues guys. Somehow they just powered through the 80s.
Yeah.
The dude Hendrix opened for him back in the day, man.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. It's a band that I really want to have seen when it was full lineup. ZZ Top. You know what I think's funny? I always think this is funny. ZZ Top, surely in the UK should be called ZZ Top.
Right.
You know?
Doesn't sound the same.
No, it really doesn't. It doesn't. It has to be ZZ Top, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Let's see here. So in a weird way, me being familiar with Japanese bands led me to you guys because on my channel I explore Japanese hard rock and heavy metal, and I do live streams where people request songs, and your single came up. And there's a band called Glim Spanky from Japan that I think you'd probably dig because they really are very much in the same vein of music. And the singer's voice, her name's Remy, and she has just a voice that you'll love. Very a little reminiscent of I can't think of her fucking name. Bobby McGee.
Oh, Sonny Terry. Did you say Brownie McGee?
Bobby McGee.
Oh, oh no!
We should both know that name immediately. We should know it immediately. I can't think of her name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just a band I think you'd really, really dig.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if you've ever listened to any Japanese bands or, I never did.
Not knowing
a year ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Could you send it my way? I'd love to give that a listen, man.
Yeah, I definitely will. I'll send you a couple I think you might like.
Yeah, thanks. But you know what's funny? I said to one of the boys, you know what? I don't know where it came from, but I was like, I think we go down a storm in Japan because I think we're so vastly different from probably what they're consuming currently that it'd be like, what is this? What's going on here?
Yeah, I think you'd be surprised, man. There's why I was drawn to Japanese music is here in the States, at least, radio just sucks. And I found myself listening to old bands I listened to 25, 30 years ago. And then I got keyed in some of this music in Japan, and they're producing new music that's that good. And every musician in the band is super talented, and they play all their own shit. And and there's a lot of bands, they would definitely dig you because there's a lot of bands that are playing that sort of music. They're playing, they're kids, dude. They're like in their teens and 20s, and they're playing shit like you guys are playing, and they're killing it. So I mean, you'll get half my viewers Japanese anyway. So maybe we'll get you some fans from Japan. That'd be cool. But yeah, I think
you know what I've long believed, right, that I can sing in Japanese. Now stay with me. Back to Queen did a song called Teo Toriate, and one of the choruses is in Japanese, and there was a point when I was a kid that I think I'd learned that phonetically. Teo Toriate kono mamaiko ai so here toyo. And I was convinced, and I actually said, you know what, that's where the conversation came around, because someone was talking about, and I was like, I can sing in Japanese, and someone went, no, you can't. And then it probably, like, anyone Japanese listening to those few lines is going, that is terrible. But it sounds impressive if you don't know Japanese, and then I think someone was like, wow, okay, you can. And I was like, if we ever play in Japan, let's just drop that in, like somewhere, we'll just wedge it in somewhere.
Yeah, and most of the bands, the lyrics are about 40 to 50% English, that they put in some English lines for, like, because they'll like do choruses in English or hooks in English, so it's mainly Japanese. But then if somebody outside is listening to it, they can latch on to that one part, so they mix it up too, man. Yeah,
no way.
There's so many.
Well, I suppose if you look at like obviously Queen, do you know what I mean? Because Queen wrote a chorus in Japanese, like Zeppelin, Free, The Who, The Stones, The Beatles. Everyone went to Japan, didn't they? Like in the 70s, which is
playing Budokan, man, and just huge shows. Yeah. They still love it. There's still a
Get
bunch
me
of old.
some-
There's a lot of punk bands there, young kids and punk bands just tearing it up over there, man. It's so fun.
Japanese punk band, man. I'd love to see it.
I heard a Japanese Celtic folk band
Wow.
that was really good. The lead singer had like a fucking banjo, and they were just going to town, dude. It was great. It's called
Wow.
the Cherry Cokes, I think, is what it was.
Oh, if they ever tour the UK, I am going to that gig. I need to see that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's funny how
it's
culture
fun.
kind of does fabulously kind of spread in that way. I'm lucky, really. I'm from a port city. Liverpool's a port city. We've got the biggest Chinese arch outside of mainland China. I think we had the first mosque or the biggest mosque in the UK. Huge Afro-Caribbean community. So Liverpool is a port city, and it really does culture well. Do you know what I mean? It does kind of the diversity of culture well. So I'm always fascinated by culture spreading around, and it's to the point where there's a Japanese Celtic folk band that's incredible. That's amazing.
Celtic folk punk. It's like a flogging Molly type
of thing.
Yeah, it's fun. I was like, what?
Oh,
I wasn't expecting that. So, well, what else, man? So, kind of touching this. Was everybody in the band? How'd you guys meet, come together, and get the band going?
So, Aaron, the guitar player, had a solo career of his own, and he was doing his own thing, and he was like the band leader of a power trio where he sang and played. And he was opening for a band in the UK called The Answer. And I was going to say I loved The Answer, but I still love The Answer. And I went to see them, and Aaron was opening, and I thought, wow, that guy's a killer guitar player. And then after the gig, you just get talking. And it was while I was still drinking, and I said, "To me, your favorite singers then? Who are the guys you're listening to at the moment?" And he said, Otis Redding, Paul Rodgers, and Muddy Waters, and they are my three. They are the guys that I was like,
did we just become best friends?
Unfortunately for you, we are now friends. And I said, Muddy Waters, man, and I went 40 days and 40 nights. Sang like the first few lines of 40 Days from Muddy Waters, and he was like, wow. And by then he should have just gone, this guy's mad. I'm gonna ignore this guy forever. But he didn't. About 2 years later, he messaged me and said, I'm looking to work with a singer. Do you know any singers who are free? And I said, well, me, what do you want to do? And he's like, I kind of want to write songs. I've got this idea. I don't really want to sing anymore. And at the time, the band I was in, I couldn't get everyone together to write. We just stopped writing songs. And to me, that creates a bit of a kind of mental blockage, and I needed to write. So I was like, well, I'm not writing at the moment. Let's, I'll do it, So he came up, and I've got a blues band that I play, not on and off with, but like when the time is there to do it, we've toured Europe and made records. The Headhunters Blues Band.
What's it called?
And it's just the Headhunters Blues Band.
Headhunters Blues Band. All right.
We're just in the process of licensing everything and getting it back on Spotify because it's all Delta and Chicago blues.
Oh, okay.
And we are absolutely not going to be taking any credit for that because it's not ours to take credit for.
Right.
But when the license is up, it has to be renewed, and we're in the process of doing that at the moment.
All right.
And I love doing that, man. I have to say, when the time is available to go and sing all that stuff is just amazing, man. I truly love it. And what's cool is I can just kind of go in and pick all the stuff. Like I'm just there going, right, we're gonna do Walking Through the Park. I don't know. Come on in this house. Every Day I Have the Blues.
Yeah.
And just kind of
That's awesome.
them off. It's great, man. I love it. So Aaron came up to Liverpool and sat in with me blues band, and I was like, let's do that. Let's just, because everyone knows how to play the blues, and if you can't, we're not going to get on musically.
Right.
So, and it kind of like what song should we play? And it's like, nah, let's not do that. Let's just jam. Let's just play, And then he came up and we did all those standards: Spoonful, Dust My Broom, Stormy Monday, Hoochie Coochie Man, all that stuff that you can just kind of, boom, boom, just kind of call them out and play them. And we kind of went, wow, okay, so we can do that. We can have that musical conversation. And it was like, well, what are you doing next week? And then it was like, let's find the cheapest hotel in the country, and we'll just go for a long weekend, and we'll see what we can do. And when we got there, it was like a kind of pull the guitar out, and it was like, hang on, let's go and get drunk. Because if we can't get drunk together, we may as well just go home now. We start arguing the minute we've got drunk, we may as well just go home now. It's why I've got no intention of leaving this band and starting another one, because I don't drink anymore. So
right, you can't.
You don't know how it's going again. So we walk. It's about a 2-mile walk down this big straight long road to the nearest pub. We got good and loose, like we got well oiled. Came back. It took about an hour and a half to walk there, and then it took about 3 hours to walk back, because we were, we were good and loose, and we picked up. I think we went on a detour and picked up a bottle of whiskey on the way back as well. And then we got back to the hotel, and we stayed up all night writing songs.
Wow.
And it went from there, and then it was like a kind of lock-in situation. Then we'd stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning, sleep, get up early afternoon, wander down the pub again, and repeat the process. Call pizza, pizza would come to the door, and then you'd have the maid. You're too loud. That's shut up,
Right.
And being threatened to be kicked out of the hotel and all this, and then from there it was like we just kept kind of bouncing ideas to and from each other, and then we kind of just put the band around that. We played with a couple of drummers. Joe came in, and we didn't even say, do you want the gig, or we just said, right, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And he's, oh, right, okay, cool. And then that was that. There was no kind of, I don't think even me and Aaron discussed it, you know what I mean? It was just like, all right, this is the guy, this is the man for the job. And then we three then did something else called Keylock, because we were tied in to a management company who had managed Aaron's solo career and wanted to manage the thing it became, but they insisted against my kind of wishes that it was going to be called Keylock. And it wasn't Aaron's idea either. Aaron was like, I'm kind of tied in with this. And it was like, right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go too deeply into why we are no longer with them.
Sure.
But we're not. And part of it was like, right, now we need a band name. Do you know what I mean? We need a band name. We need a fresh start. And so we did. And Ross Monroe came in on organ. He's possibly the single-handedly most talented musician I've ever met. Like he's the kind of guy that would like see like the carcass of a dead cow on an open field and get a tune out of it, one of those real annoying motherfuckers who can just pick anything up and automatically play it.
Yeah.
He's incredible. And he takes a Leslie speaker with him to every gig.
Yeah.
Like that's dedication to the craft,
Yeah, because it's like 500 pounds or so. It's kind of so ridiculous.
Something like that, man. And it's like, it is essentially like, like those old, like, sideboard things that your granny would have, like it's like lugging one of those things to a gig, right. All the time. But then
furniture.
When he plays through it, you go, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth carrying it around, it's totally worth it.
Wow.
And we got a guy called Jake James Cornez on the bass. Jake doesn't have social media, so when we came to find him, he's from Liverpool as well. He's the only other guy from the band who's from Liverpool. Everyone's from all over the place. Joe's from up by Newcastle. Ross is from Manchester ways. Aaron's from Oxford. But it was like, well, he's from Liverpool. He can't be that hard to find. Ha! It took us a good while because he hasn't got social media. And then the funny thing was, I was thinking, how did bands ever form back in the day?
Right, yeah.
How did it happen without people messaging and putting people together,
Yeah.
But we found him. He came in. he looks like the guitar player from Almost Famous, and he's just a cool guy, you know. And he's a great bass player, and he's really funny as well. He's got a dry sense of humor, and he's definitely the best looking member of the band as well. Yeah, so that's kind of how we all came together. And I think with the idea of we just want to make honest rock and roll, you know, like we don't want any bells and whistles, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just Chris Robinson, right, from the Black Crowes, said that the same thing. He's like, rock and roll, it's evolved over time from people banging sticks together in you know, in a cave all those years ago, and then people kind of chorally singing together to the point where it was back really to where we started. Like music was invented in Mississippi. It came out of field hollers, and then Alan Lomax went and recorded those Delta guys, and from there we're just trying to carry the ball a few yards further forward. You know, we're not trying to do anything special. We're not trying to sound like we're from the 70s either. It's just kind of like, oh, is it pastiche? No, not really. It's just that we're all influenced by that stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's what goes in comes out the other side, you know. And it's why there's a song that we're going to demo in a few weeks called Start Walking. And it was just my attempt of writing like a Stax soul Motown tune, just with a rock and roll band.
It's fun to do that. Like I'm going to go for this type of thing, and sometimes it just completely goes sideways. You end up with something else, but it's that inspiration that gets you going.
It was you know what it was, man. I'd been listening to a whole bunch of that stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'd been listening to a whole bunch of Stax, one of those random playlists on Spotify. The good thing about modern music intake is that you find so much just without even looking.
Yeah.
And it had just gone in for a couple of days, and then I'm walking around singing this thing, and then I call either Aaron or Joe, and I'm like, "What is this? Do you recognize this?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Not really." But I've done that before with stuff where I've rang and he's going, "You better write that down," you know, like stay there. And I'll be singing bits to him over the phone, and Aaron will be there, kind of stay there, you know, like, and you can hear him kind of strumming away in the background and writing. And it was like, oh no, and I was like, I think I'm just kind of in that thing where, like, because in my head I could hear like a horn section on it, and like that kind of like a real tight. Like Albert King style, you know, that Pretty Woman, like Albert King, or a pretty woman, it's that kind of thing in my head, or like Al Green or something like that, you know. It's like that's what I think that, like, because it's all gone in and now it has to come out somewhere. And I think that's what it was. But yeah, what were we talking about, man? I really took us off on a tangent there, didn't I?
I don't know, about the band getting together, and then
well, they're all fabulously talented, man, and I own the mic stand, so it's a match made in heaven.
There you go. That's awesome, man. So I joined a few, and I started playing out. Had a few of my own 3-piece. Just kind of, we did a lot of blues, and you know, we covered Doors and even like Nirvana and Hendrix and SRV and stuff like that. It's just fun to do.
Yeah.
And they're all guys that I could just we would just jam, you know, and it was a lot of music where we could, if you had an idea, you could go play it as long as I knew the words, just saying you could just jam on it forever.
Yeah.
Fun to do it. Then I joined a band later to where one guy, super talented and could pick up anything, but he was so rigid in the song, like structured. It's like, dude, can we just have fun? Like, can we just throw solo in here? It's like, no, there's no solo. It's like, come on, man. People want to see solo.
No fun. Don't have fun.
Yeah, he's so worried about all these particular tones. Like, dude, you're in a bar. Nobody gives a fuck about your tone. You don't want it to sound like shit, but your 5 layers of effects don't really matter here.
Yeah. You know what, man? Like, I'm always a little suspicious of the guitar players with the huge spaceships. You know, like with all the lights and all of the. I'm like, what does that do that you can't just do yourself? Like, in fact, both of the guitar players that I play with on a kind of regular, semi-regular basis, Aaron and Will, Big Bill Ryden from the Headhunters Blues Band, man, that guy is the reincarnation of BB King, and I do not throw that around lightly. Like, I just don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's times I'm just kind of stood there going, fuck. you're killer, you know, and he'll
really,
kind of
really
look
good.
like he's the best I've seen in the flesh. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like,
Wow,
shit,
yeah.
man, I'm stood next to you, you know, like this guy, you know. Oh, goodness gracious, man, that guy can play. But neither of them do there's usually on the floor in front of them. There's usually like maybe a some kind of booster, not normally, because they both are those intelligent guitar players that will roll on and off the volume. You know, they kind
Yeah.
of self control, which confuses sound men beyond the
Yeah.
pale. They're just like, what, you know how to do that, but what about? And it's just like, no, you leave that,
Yeah.
leave it where it is.
Get
I'll
my
do that.
max volume, leave it the fuck alone.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's usually a tuner on the floor, and it's funny in soundcheck where it's like, any effects, and like Aaron will be like, no, like it's just this, you know, like
Built-in
it's just
reverb, it's a room. Yeah.
yeah, you know, if I wanted to drive, I'll turn it up. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
That's how we were. We were playing, the last music we did was like modern country music. I got
nice.
pulled into that against, like, they tricked me. But it was fun for a while. We were still playing some older stuff. And he had this huge rack, and he had like this one thing that had like 250 channels he just used the delay on. I'm like, you have another delay pedal. What are you doing? And then we'd play, and everybody at the breakthrough like, well, sound good, but we can't hear Rick. We can hear you fine. Why is that? I'm like, because I'm going through a wah pedal and a tuner and a fucking Ibanez tube screamer into my amp.
Yeah.
That's
it. There it is. Yeah. That's crazy.
And yeah, I'd use the volume on my guitar. Turn it up when I want to be louder, you know.
What is that with modern guitar players, man, where it's like they have almost like a kind of set volume, actually, I'm going to answer my own question. I think it's probably because a lot of the music they take in doesn't have the dynamic of the music that we probably grew up listening to in that sense.
Man. Those fucking loudness wars that ruined radio.
Yeah.
I mean, and CDs, they wanted everything to be loud. You look at, if you download a song and look at a waveform, pull it up in a DAW or something, it's just packed. It's just wave topped out all the way across. And you bring up Zeppelin or Sabbath even, and it's, you know, there's variation in it. Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right there. They don't, it's not like you say going in. So what's coming out is the same kind of sound.
Yeah. You know what? I think that's plagiarized, man. Like, not that anything about me is particularly original, but I think it was Greg Allman maybe said, like, if shit goes in, shit will come out. And not wrong. You know what I mean? Oh, it could be me. It could be me. But I don't think it is. I think one of the Almonds said that, and he's right. Do you know what I mean? If you listen to garbage will just come out of you.
Yeah.
It's kind of just the way it is. So
yeah,
it's just that's been the tough one, I suppose. Tough for yourself as well, is finding the guys to go, right, who's got the source, who has drank from the well. You know, who knows. If I say it's Reading, people aren't going to go, oh, Dock of the Bay. They'll go, oh, it's Blue, that record's killer. You know, they're going to know. Or they won't scratch the red when I talk about Albert King or something like that.
Right.
And finding those guys, it's why everyone is from everywhere. It's why there's, you know, we're from all over the country. Because just finding the guys that kind of want to live the dream together is not been
so
easy,
how far away are the guys in the band, like travel wise? Hours away or?
Yeah. Well, England's little in it, you know. We're tiny compared to, like, we toured with Jared James Nichols recently, and we went from Glasgow to Bristol, which is like a 6.5 hour drive. But for someone from the States, that's nothing. That's, you just go to Walmart, 6.5 hour drive, you know.
Yeah, that's just being in Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's like popping to see the folks or something.
Yeah.
But in England, it was like, how this is ridiculous. I need to speak to somebody immediately. You know, so Aaron and Joe, I think, live the farthest away from each other. So we tend to base out of Liverpool because there's some good studios here, and it's kind of equidistant from Aaron and Joe. They both travel about 3 hours.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. Like, you say you guys, you get together and you play instead of doing stuff remotely, and that's dedication, man.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of do stuff remotely in the sense of Aaron will kind of go, oh, I've got this kind of idea for a song, and he'll send me a thing, and I'll go, oh, you know what, let's change the arrangement. Or I'll send him lyrics and he'll say, oh, that will fit, you know. But then
it's just nice. It's just nice that now you're not like on a phone and somebody's trying to play a guitar, like, "Hey, check this out," and you're like, "What? I can't hear that." Now you can get like a studio track sent to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can get it right there. Like over lockdown, we did a thing for Turn Up for Recovery. You know, Clapton's wife's charity.
Yeah.
It's like a drug rehab charity. But we called some people that we have kind of connections with, because they said, "You want to do some stuff?" And we were like, "Well, that we'd love to, but no one knows who we are, so that would be pointless for you guys."
Right. So actually,
well, it just wouldn't have got any attention. So we called a bunch of people, and we were dead lucky. Most of them said yes. So we had Richard Fortus from Guns N' Roses play with us on Fire and Water by Free. We also had Kelby from the Cadillac 3, Paul Jackson from Blackberry Smoke. We had a bunch of guys playing with us on. We did The Wait, 25 Miles by Edwin Starr, as in The Wait by the band, 25 Miles by Edwin Starr, and Fire and Water by Free, and we had guests on them all, and everyone was incredible. It's still on there somewhere.
That's awesome.
It was great, man, and it was all done remotely. You know, it was all because it was in lockdown.
Yeah.
So it was crazy getting that back and being like, "No way, man! I'm like on a track with a guy from Guns N' Roses." Like,
that's awesome. Hell
yeah. We had a Dynamite Keys player play with us as well, and I cannot remember who it was now because my brain is full of holes. But it was incredible, man. It was truly amazing, especially on The Wait as well. There's a great band in the UK called SA and the Voodoo People. You need to check them out. And SA and Sheena, the two singers from SA and the Voodoo People, do a lot of our harmony stuff. So they sang a verse of The Wait. Paul Jackson sang a verse of The Wait, and it was just great because I love Blackberry Smoke as well, man. So I'm like, no way, man. Look, here's me with the guys from Blackberry Smoke and the Cadillac 3. You know, it was really cool, man. Yeah. It's such a good version of that song as well, man. It really is. Like, I'd love to be able to put it out in some way, but it's on YouTube somewhere. But I'd love to do something else with it. Like, I'd love to include it somewhere.
I'll have to search it up. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's out there somewhere, man. And yeah, but you know what? So I hadn't. Sorry, man. I'm not to keep you, but like I hadn't sang for 2 years because it was lockdown. So I managed to get it. I got into a studio, and I rather brazenly walked in thinking this would be fine, and it was horrific. Like it was genuinely bad. I left that. I was like, listen, delete everything. Can I come back? Oh man,
so you like went to sing and you're just like, oh fuck.
It's like, what's up? Especially on 25 Miles as well, man. Like 25 Miles is one of them.
Wow.
I think it's in F sharp. You know, it's like you got to reach for it, and if you're not in the mood for it, you ain't getting it. And but then I went and I was like, what are you doing this time next week? And he was like, yeah, it's free. And I was like, I'm coming back, delete literally everything we've done today. And then I did a week of kind of standing in front of the TV doing scales and you know, getting my voice back together. And then I went in and did them all in like 1 or 2 takes. And I was like, oh God, I've still got it. You know, I can still do it.
That's good.
It's a muscle in it, man. It's a muscle. And if you don't exercise it, then it does go.
Yeah. I didn't play for a long time. When I started playing in front of people, I was doing like solo acoustic stuff at like open mics and acoustic jams and stuff. And that's when I first started singing and playing I went there a couple weeks. I just played instrumental stuff I made up. And the one guy's like, you can sing, can't you? I said, I think so. I've never sang in front of anybody. So he's like, next week you're going to sing. So I went next week and I played like a couple songs. He's like, you said you'd sing. You got to do it. So I did. And it came out okay. Like the response was overwhelming. I'm like, holy shit. I guess I can. Nice. So then I started doing bands and stuff, and then got out of the bands, you know, I had a kid and still playing guitar. And then I went to go sing again. And it's like, man, I had a decent range and it just disappeared. I'm like, oh crap. And yeah, you know, like, and my wife works third shift. And so I can't like practice all day.
Yeah.
Because I could barely sing and record anything if anybody's in the house anyway. I just couldn't do it. Like I need everybody to be gone so I could like belt out the stuff I wanted to belt out.
Yeah, so you
But
can really get down deep, man. Yeah.
yeah,
Did you cut your teeth at jam nights as well?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like acoustic open mic. There's one this guy invited me to, and that's where I learned, and that was a hell of a way to learn, like just by yourself on a fucking stool
Yeah.
and just testing yourself every weekend. So I started writing music to go play there. So it took me from uh, writing for like an electric sound to by myself, to like
Yeah.
writing acoustic and coming up with things that filled out the sound more and trying, singing and playing, which I hadn't really done.
Yeah.
And it's probably the best way to kind of get started. And
You know what, man? I think so, man. I certainly did that. I went and cut my teeth at jam nights. Just
yeah,
big groups of musicians, and like especially when you're young, you know what I mean. You walk in and think, I'm great at this, and then
yeah,
you promptly leave going, I'm not as good as I thought.
yeah,
Which is good. Do you know what I mean? Because I think you need humbling. The youthful energy. You need to be kind of okay. Maybe I've got a little way to go with this.
yeah.
Um,
Because that led to like going to open mics with like a house band, and
yeah,
there's like three of them I used to hit when I lived in a bigger town. Where I am now, there's like 10,000 people here. There's nowhere to play. There's like
right,
one local venue that has like an open jam once a month.
right,
But
right.
I used to live in the next city, and I'd go play with the house band. I would just go in, and you'd have a different guitar player, different bass, and like the same bass player and drummer, but who would be playing guitar. And then you're like fucking Marty McFly. It's a blues and A. Watch me for the changes and just fucking go. And if
Yeah,
you're having fun, you're having
yeah,
fun. If it sucked, you're like,
yeah,
you're done. This is your last
yeah.
song. on the
Oh yeah,
stage.
for sure, man. Yes. You know what, man? I used to run it again. Like I live in Liverpool city centre, man. There's live music everywhere,
Yeah,
and I used to run a blues jam night, and that was the thing of like, listen, like if you're getting up and you're killing it, you can stay up, but it's so hard to kind of go and
yeah,
kind of tap someone on the shoulder and go, "Can I get someone else up now?" It's like we haven't
yeah.
even finished the song. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're
Sorry,
done,
mate.
brother. Like, yeah, like off you go. That's funny, isn't it, man? I wonder if that's still a thing, man. Like, I don't really hear about that so much anymore. People go into jam nights that much. It doesn't seem
Yeah,
to
I
be a
don't
thing.
know. I know the places I used to go to, they just don't. One was starting to fizzle out like before I was even done with it. It had been established for years and years, and then like somebody else bought it, turned into like a dance bar.
And then it's done. Yeah, the
So
same stories here, man. We've just knocked down to make way for student accommodation that we don't need any more of. We've just knocked down one of the most iconic studios in the city,
I don't
and it's
know.
devastating, man. Like Phil Collins came and built the drum rooms, and
Oh,
we've
wow.
just
What
knocked
studio? What studio is that?
called Parr Street Studios, and it's just gone.
Wow.
In fact, my blues band recorded their live album in the live lounge there in front of an audience. And it was a great venue because it was the one of the old original live rooms that they'd whacked the stage in the side, and in the booth they'd put the bar.
Yeah.
So it was this kind of like it held about 100 people, if that. And it was just great because the live sound, like the guy who came and recorded it for us, said to me afterwards, we went into the studio while he was mixing it, and he was like, I genuinely think you could release this just on the 4-room mics that we had. Never mind everything
Wow.
that was mic'd up on stage. He said it's that good of a sound, and it was perfectly designed for it, and that is now
Man,
gone. Yeah,
that's horrible.
yeah, and everyone had recorded them, and like everybody. Um, I remember there was a thing a while back where Justin Bieber went and laid vocals down, and it got out, and there was like teeny bopper girls like lying in the streets for miles, and you're trying to walk through, going, "What is going on here?" It's like, but yeah, but that's how good of a studio it was. You know what I mean? There's like people like I think Rihanna had recorded it, Coldplay, Oasis. In
Man.
fact, the day I went um, into record, Ian Brown from the Stone Roses was walking out. He had just been in there to do
Yeah.
something, and where you're walking in, and you're like, wow, this really is one of those studios, isn't it?
Man.
It's crazy, man.
It's like I know there's like producers that are around that understand the sound of a room, but I think a lot of musicians probably don't even appreciate that. There's so many people that they learn to play and their whole world is playing at home in a fucking DAW where they can have any plugin they want to make it sound like, you can download the rooms from studios and shit now. So, like setting up your amp in a room and getting that sound, is just, I don't know how foreign that is to a lot of new people that are learning music.
Oh, it's wild, isn't it, man?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. I play through my old Line 6 pod into my computer and I record shit all the time, and I hardly ever have my amp turned on and then playing live.
But it is the way we live in, isn't it? I think it's funny. The first record I did with the Headhunters Blues Band, the guitar player used a Champ this big, the entire thing, and then somehow, one of the producers from Abbey Road bought it off him.
Oh yeah,
I think he managed to hear the record somehow, kind of like, that's great, and then bought the Champ off him.
What sound is that? Little
yeah. It's this tiny little fucking biscuit tin sized amp that's just absolutely clinging on for dear life as he's like hammering these like open tune slide tunes through it. Oh, amazing, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy,
That's cool.
All locked in a cupboard, like facing the wall.
Right, just right.
Yeah,
just the right sound. Get a mic in there.
Yeah. Do not move anything. like, that's crazy, isn't it?
The sound,
like Death Records used to have a moving wall.
Oh wow!
That they would move to get the
tune the freaking kind of room,
either contain the sound or make it bigger. So Blue and Lonesome, Little Walter, that you'd know it if you heard it. I'm blue and lonesome as a man can be.
Yeah.
That intro is definitely the wall that has just been like, right, let's get this as far back as we can. So it's got that big, roomy sound, man. And you need to check that out as well, man. You can hear the spring on the bass drum pedal squeaking as they're playing it. And Keith Richards said it's the bluest song he's ever heard. And Keith Richards isn't lying, man. That tune is blue, and it is beautiful, man. Goodness gracious.
Awesome. Well, how many you guys sitting on track stuff you're waiting to record, or what's going on?
So the full record will be out in spring. Okay. We haven't nailed a date down yet. The next single, Come On Come In, the lyric video is up on YouTube now, and it'll be on online to stream and download on December the 1st. We're gonna play a little launch gig in London on December 7th, and then record in March and touring hopefully after that.
Cool. I checked that out today. That lyric video.
Oh, right on.
It was nice. I was expecting just something like the other single, and it was nice and quiet and pretty. I was like, well, this is really good.
Yeah.
And no, it was a beautiful song, and then it gets rocking there in the end. But yeah, it was great, man. I'm like, all right, there's some dynamics here. There's some range. Yeah. You never know when you hear one song. You got to hear at least two.
No. Well, that was the thing as well. Like we, someone who we respect a lot said you've got to release that one as the second single, Light and Shade, and that's important to me and the boys. You know what I mean? Is the fact that we're not just like, if you went to see a Zeppelin gig back in the day, it wasn't just for 2 hours. You know what I mean? You'd sit down and play acoustic in the middle and that kind of thing. And we wanted to show off that we're not just kind of smashing the walls down, rock and roll band. There is dynamic. There has to be dynamic. There has to be light and shade. So yeah, thanks, man. Glad you dig it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Checked out Fleece too. You got a live performance of Fleece, which is really cool.
Oh, so yeah. The one in Bristol. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a few up there that have popped up recently, man. There that it's nice to see them back, because some of them smaller stages when you're playing the support slots, you're not getting a great sound check, so and you can't really hear yourself on stage, so it's just kind of open your mouth and hope.
Yeah,
so it's nice to know most of it's in key.
That's when it's nice when you have good musicians, even if it's crappy sound, you can tell you guys know what you're doing, as opposed to some where if the sound's bad, they don't sound good.
Yes, yeah.
So that's what you get.
They are like the four boys, man. They are absolutely unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? They're all, to me anyway, they're all virtuosos at their craft, and I just think at some point they're going to find me out. Sack me.
I think you're good, man.
Thanks, bro. Yeah.
I think they're going to do well with you. Well, I hope. I don't know. I hope to see more of you. I can't wait to hear the whole album. And
Yeah. Thank you, man. Hopefully, man. With Universe willing, we'll come and play in the States, because just bringing it back to where it came from. I need to visit Chicago, man. I need to do Memphis and Mississippi, and if I could do that, touring with the band, that would be special.
You can go there and go to Buddy Guy's place and go to BB King's place.
I'd love to do all that, man. I'd love to do that.
Got it in Memphis too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go down to Beale Street. I've visited. My brother lives there, and been down there to visit. It's just wonderful. You walk down the whole whole street on either side is just bands playing, and everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is so awesome.
I know. I think I'd probably pass out, man. But like, I need to go and see where Chess Records was, man. I need to go to 2120 South Michigan Avenue in Chicago and just kind of,
Yep. Knowing who was there and went through those doors.
Good Lord, yeah. So many of them, man.
Well, Jonnie, thanks for the conversation. I think it was a great conversation, man. I think we talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff.
It's been a pleasure, man. Yeah. Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Yeah. When your record gets released, let's talk again.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
That'd be great. Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for coming on. Guys, watch out for the spring new record release, and December 1st, your single is going to be officially released. Come in.
That's the one. Yes, sir.
Fantastic.